Good morning, this is Kristine Lehmann, and today we've been graced by the presence of Chris Kennedy. Chris is actually a very experienced valuer. He's been in the industry, the management rights industry, since 1998. Through those years, Chris has valued over 1,000, that's 1,000 resorts through Australia. And we're lucky enough to have him in between valuations and talking to us today. Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much for inviting me today.
It was so exciting to listen to you during the last Arama meeting and see how upbeat things were and how things were going.
Yes.
Can you give us a little, it is, just to preface this whole conversation, it's October 2014. So at this day and age, what do you feel is going on in the market and how do you feel? I feel there's a bit of buoyancy there. Can you explain why?
Yeah, I would call it confidence. There's a confidence in the market that the worst is over at this point in time. And I see the smart money coming back into the market, Kristine. Those people who really know what they're doing, these people are business people and they're coming into the market and they are giving the rest of the market the confidence which they need to start to buy into the market at this point in time. We've also been graced by the fact that our numbers are up in terms of bookings, are up, and so that's also given confidence to the market today compared to perhaps in 2012 and 2013 where there was a lot of negative news about the tourism industry running around in here, yes. You know.
Are you feeling the same confidence with the permanent?
With the permanent. Now, the permanent market was not affected as much as the holiday market, because the holiday market is very much a discretionary market. But the permanent market, they sort of, just bubbled along as we go. So yes, I am seeing a bit of increased confidence in the permanent market, but the real story, I think, is in the short-term market at this point in time. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You're saying the smart money is starting to come into the market.
Yes.
Exactly who is this smart money?
Yeah, well, these are people who have been in the industry before and have withdrawn from the industry and are now coming back into the industry, either buying a one-off purchase for themselves or perhaps going into a partnership with other people. So you'll have people with different skills. They'll combine to come together to buy a much larger property. Yeah. We're
seeing quite a few of these partnerships come up.
Yes, we are.
We saw a peak in the market around 2008. Yes. Can you compare that peak with what we're going through today?
Yeah, the peak in 2008 was essentially a peak where almost anybody got involved in the management rights industry. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of due diligence undertaken in 2008. There was simply a situation where people were just grabbing whatever they could when it came along, and that was a very concerning time within the market. But to be fair to those people, we all thought that it would never end. The rise through 2005, 2006 and 2007 would continue on. There was no reason that we saw that it would not continue. So, to be fair to those people. But in 2014, yes, we are seeing the increased numbers. The numbers are not back to the 2008 level in terms of transactions. But for 2014, over 2012, 2013, we've seen an increase in the numbers at about 35% over and above those numbers in 2014. So that's really good.
That's amazing.
But Kristine, we are seeing a lot more due diligence. We're seeing a lot more cautious approach to things. People are prepared to put a little bit of money in and a little bit of time to ensure that what they're buying is a good thing going forward for them within the business. So that's the difference which I see between the 2008 market and the 2014.
That's really good of you to note, because quite frankly, I'm finding most buyers now are very educated.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
They do align themselves with industry experts. So almost before they've gone off and seen a complex, they've already aligned themselves with an accountant, a solicitor, as well as a finance broker. Yes. So altogether you feel like now that they're investing smartly, so you don't feel there'd be a downtrend after this, or?
Well, that's an interesting question. There is no particular reason why we should see a downturn.
Exactly.
At this point in time, there is no reason to be pessimistic about that. But I also see, in my role, I obviously am contacted by people from time to time, and I am seeing an increase in the number of the phone calls to me saying, listen, I'm considering this and I'm considering paying this. What do you think? And we'll generally have a conversation around that, and I encourage people to do that, because I think it's part of that the due diligence process prior to signing the contract. Because once you sign the contract, you're then committed, and it's a lot of money to be spent on the due diligence, and really you want to be educated prior to entering that process. Of course, we also have the internet today, Kristine, and what people offer on the internet today is a quantum leap from what they're offering in 2008. So that's probably another reason why people are better educated today than they were in 2008.
This is true. This is true. Okay, the demographic of buyers you're seeing.
The demographic I'm seeing, as I said, I think before I said, I'm seeing business people. In 2008 we might have had people who had got a large redundancy check, perhaps there's a lot of redundancies in Telstra and places like that. A lot of people coming out of the motel industry in New Zealand and in Australia, they were making up a lot of the buyers in 2008. Today, yes, we are still seeing some of those people in the market, and we welcome those people in the market, but we are seeing a lot more business people in the market, and they're treating it as if it's a business.
That's exactly
not a
right.
lifestyle.
Yes.
Wise. Yeah, in the past people thought, oh well, it might have been a bit of a lifestyle, but it's, sure, you can have a lifestyle if you organise things professionally.
Yes, you can, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. But I see people who are business people, who are looking to improve the marketing systems, the accounting systems within the business, the way they communicate with people, because these are all important factors in being successful within business. And so they're the sort of people I'm predominantly now seeing within the market and who are inquiring with me.
I'm actually seeing a lot of, and I'm forecasting myself, a lot of changes in the resort market, because right now I'm seeing a lot of couples who have basically they've had it and they're wanting to move on, and they've obviously worked the business to a good degree, but there's so much more, like you said, the internet is bringing into the business. So between marketing through the internet, etc., I'm seeing new people coming in with all that new savvy, wanting to take it to the next level. So at least they're looking forward to growth. They're not just buying into something that's already going to stay as is, but actually looking to enjoy a little bit of blue sky through what they're bringing, through what they're equipped with.
Because they're essentially taking the existing business and improving that. Obviously, trimming the costs and improving their marketing strategies such that more people will actually come to the building at a higher rate. People will pay a higher rate of rent if they're marketed, the property's marketed properly to them, and they can see a good reason to pay that particular rate. Whereas in the past, it was difficult for people to realise the value of perhaps paying that little bit of extra if you hadn't marketed the property properly.
Chris, do you feel like people are paying premiums in the industry today?
Well, yes, I do, and it's a bit of a dark art, premiums.
A dark art.
It's dark art. You like that?
I do. I'm going to hit you with a harder question in a moment.
That's all right. That's all right. In that run up to 2008, people were just expected to pay a premium on the value of the management unit. When we're in that what I would call those dark years. Sometimes we're seeing no premium paid whatsoever. Unless it was a particularly exceptional property, people might pay a little bit of a premium, maybe up to 5%.
Now, when you're saying a particularly exceptional property,
something where
what factors do you consider?
That's probably a whole other interview if you want to do that, because there are many factors which will see people pay a premium for a particular property. But the main one, I suppose, is the quantum of the cash flow, how much it is, and the balance of the term on the management agreements. They're probably the two big ones. Now, when it comes to the premium, though, we've got to understand what we're sort of really talking about here. This is the premium for the attachment of the business to the particular unit. So it's important that we know the value of the unit, because sometimes if the value of the unit is too high, already that can affect the premium. Yes. If it's low, well then the premium might have there might be a positive effect on the premium there. It's the attractiveness of the business. It's the ability to increase the income within your business, and then the extent of the areas which you hold under exclusive use rights, occupational rights, or some sort of special privilege rights, which really come down to how much premium. Now, Kristine, we're actually tracking that premium today, and we don't have a premium under 5% today. In the sales in 2014, we don't have a premium under 5% here in Queensland. So that's a surprising result, maybe.
Sounds like good news.
It was good news, and for me, I don't mind that, because I'm simply trying to reflect the market. And if the market is saying that under normal circumstances, I'll pay a premium of about 5%. On your normal managers, 2-bedroom apartment on the ground level, office reception attached, and normal areas downstairs for your business, they'll pay a premium of about 5%. That's really good. Now, some are paying a slightly higher premium. That's when they can see an exceptional opportunity within the business to increase the business. You've got managers who, as you rightly said, have been there for a long time. They're a bit tired and they've run out of ideas. If people can see the ability to increase the income, they might pay a slightly larger premium. Yeah. The place where we might be a bit cautious about premiums is if your management unit has extensive areas where you've got, I've seen management units where you've got conference rooms, you've got kitchens, you've got restaurants, you've got day spas. When you combine all those things together and you're spending essentially $1 million or $2 million on your management unit, well then the premium does suffer at that particular time. Yes.
That's good advice there. Okay, the magic of the multiplier.
Magic of the multiplier. Everybody wants to know about the multiplier.
Everybody wants to know. We'll send you an email.
That's right.
With Chris's latest valuation schedules. Yes. But exactly what goes into this multiplier?
Yeah, these are the push button things, as I said before, particularly in relation to the balance of the term on the agreement. We've had a bit of a lowering of expectation in regard to that. People wanted at least 20 years in the past. They're probably saying now maybe 17 or 18 years is still okay at this point in time, so that's good. Regarding the standard regulation module, I don't mind standard regulation module properties.
Neither do I.
I don't think there should be as much negativity around them as there possibly is.
Well, some of the most iconic buildings on the Gold Coast are actually standard modules.
That's right. And if you see a good relationship between the body corporate and the manager, where you've seen a constant updating of the agreements, the topping up of the agreements, there's no reason why that property shouldn't sell. Yes, I admit the multipliers are lower. They are lower, but they shouldn't be significantly lower or shouldn't be discounted completely out of the market at that point in time. Okay.
That is excellent to hear.
Yeah, so that's probably one of the major factors. As I talked before, the ability to increase. So firstly, the quantum of the income, then the ability to increase the income within the business. I think are two things which are inextricably tied together and should be considered. And obviously, in our valuation, we're asked by the banks to analyse the business to see the potential within the business. So that sort of comes into our thinking as well. Obviously, there's a direct comparison component. We're comparing with other buildings which have sold within the area and what they've sold for. Because as we all know, the market is king.
Yes.
The market is the thing that decides where the multiplier is. It's that level of confidence in the market that will decide the multiplier at this point in time. And then we sort of go for, so I suppose, smaller factors, things like, the market at this particular time, for the tourism market. I know I've just been in North Queensland. That market is finding increasing confidence in the number of people coming to North Queensland, particularly out of the European market, which is their traditional market. And so the multipliers are increasing really on the back of increased numbers out of Europe. So that's a really big factor for North Queensland.
That is great news.
Yeah. The number of units which you have in your pool as opposed to the total number of units within your pool is a factor Going back to our potential to increase our income. The number of units managed by outside agents comes into that as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you see a building where you don't have many outside agents, where you've got the majority of units within the pool, but still some potential to increase the income, that's going to have a very positive effect upon the multiplier. The relative location of the property. I had a discussion one day with somebody over the fact that we had two properties. Both were earning about $400,000 in net income.
Okay.
And the person was thinking, well, if it earns $400,000, like a commercial lease,
Yes.
it should have the same multiplier on it. But I said, listen, one property was on the absolute beachfront,
Okay.
and the other property was on the western side of the highway. So the people on the western side of the highway, they worked really, really hard for their $400,000.
Yes.
Okay, people on the beachfront were basically sitting there taking orders from people coming in the door or ringing up or on the internet wanting to stay in that building. Now, which building would you buy, Kristine?
I guess because I'd rather work less and earn more.
The beachfront
I'd get
property.
the easier one, correct.
Yeah, so the demand drivers are stronger on the beachfront property.
Absolutely right.
So the multiplier has to be higher on that $400,000. So that's, it's a really important factor. And then obviously it's relativity to markets that people want to be in.
Yes.
Shepherd's Paradise, Broadbeach, Burleigh, Coolangatta, obviously very recognised areas, but there are other areas as well for that short-term market. And then obviously the permanent market doing really well. Robina, all that sort of central coast area doing really well. But then still also Tugun, there's a number of sales down there, number of really big properties. It seems to be in the permanent market, the larger the better.
Absolutely, we've seen that happen.
We have seen that happen, yes. Yeah.
Okay, but when it comes to permanents, say you have apples and apples, they're earning the same, they're in the same
Yes.
location, etc. Do you put a premium on the multiplier or increase the multiplier if you find that the responsibility in one complex is less, or the workload in one is less than the other?
Yeah, certainly that does come to, it's not one of the major factors, but it does come into consideration. Yeah, particularly if you see one manager has to do, I'm being funny here,
Yeah.
2 acres of lawns and gardens and all that sort of thing.
Okay.
When the other manager has essentially a low maintenance complex.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it does play.
It does
play
a
a
role.
part.
Not a major role, but it does play a part, particularly in the permanent market. Yeah.
So what issues are important in today's market?
Well, when we talk about the short-term market, I think the market is looking for performance in 2 areas. That's the occupancy to the complex,
Yes.
and then the average daily rate which is achieved for the accommodation. And I think there's a strong relativity between those two, which comes down to the performance of the particular building. So that's really, I think, what the market is looking for today, because these are business people, Kristine. So these people are looking at those factors, and then obviously the potential to increase the income. Within the long-term market, I see an ability to increase the rentals within the complex, the nature of the complex, the extent of the common property facilities, as we have talked about before, as being important, but then also that location relative to things like Robina Town Centre, the Pacific Fair being
Yes.
redeveloped,
Very
the
exciting.
train line, employment nodes, the highways, transport, things like that are really important in that particular market.
Okay.
And will drive that market. Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of that happening in our Gold Coast right now. It's very
Yes.
exciting.
Yeah.
So are you forecasting higher multipliers in regards to the Commonwealth Games coming our way?
Well, I've done a bit of analysis in this area, and I see both the permanent and short-term market. I still think, personally, we have a way to go in terms of our multipliers at this point in time. How far we go, whether we'll crack the magic 6 again, as we did in 2008, that's still to be seen. There has been one complex sell at 6 times, but I think there are exceptional circumstances behind that particular sale, so we can't take it as a given at this point in time.
We wish you would.
Yeah. Well, if the market starts to pay that on a regular basis, well then we have to start to apply those multipliers. That's the reality. But at this point in time, we're still paying between about 5.5 and 5.75 for the best of the market, for the absolute best of the market.
So 5.5 to 5.75 for the best.
For the absolute best of the market at this point in time. But what's nice about it, we're seeing a lot of properties which might have sold in the high fours, now coming over into the fives and the low fives. And we're seeing a lot of the holiday complexes on the Gold Coast selling in that sort of 5 to 5.2 range, where they might have sold in that 4.75 to 5 range in 2012, 2013. So there's been a general movement up, and I still see a little bit more in that market to go. So yeah, I'm positive about that. In the permanent market, we have seen a lot of sales in the past in the high fours.
Yes.
In recent times, they've all tipped over now into the low fives. Yes. Now, I think you've got to be pretty exceptional to go to 5.5 in the permanent market, but that's not to say that if everything is right about a complex, all the boxes are ticked, that we'll see a growing number of sales in the permanent market at or about that level.
That's excellent to hear. Now there you go. Basically, the next cocktail party, you don't have to nudge Chris and ask him what the multipliers are, because you've heard it right here. Chris, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate that.
Pleasure.
You are so approachable. Thank you so much for taking my call every day.
That's all right. That's
I appreciate all your advice.
No problem at all.